Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Dusclops. Dusclops has some pretty absurd stats, that while it has almost nothing for the hit points, it has really solid defenses and special defenses. Also, it's a not fully evolved Pokemon, which means that Eviolite is going to boost those defenses even further, which is terrifying to think about. Now, it really doesn't have much offensively, speed-wise, or anything else. This is actually like the perfect view of a tank. If this Pokemon says, I don't need any offenses, I don't need no speed, just give me my defenses, let me not take damage ever, and we'll be good to go. Look at its typing, it's a pure Ghost-type Pokemon. We just saw this with Bayonet, and it's pretty much the same thing, that you only have to worry about Ghost Dark types, you don't have to worry about normal and fighting, Bug, or Poison too much. So hopping into Pokemon Showdown, we're going to see that Dusclops is one of the most brutal tanks imaginable, that Eviolite. If the older species can evolve, defense and special defense are 1.5 times, which is already really ridiculous. So then I was thinking we max out the hit points because they're so low, and then we just split it up between defense and special defense, and then give it a special defense nature. Why, you may ask? Well, Will-O-Wisp. It's going to burn the target, which cuts their attack in half, and now we have a pretty special defensive bulk Pokemon, and now a Pokemon that's just not going to take anything from physical damage as well, and mostly you can kind of mess around with this how you please. That since Ghost and Dark are generally going to be more special based, or like more commonly encountered in special, you can really just put a higher care into your special defense, and then once you get that burn off, you're not worrying about taking too much damage from there anyway. Now this Dusclops is very reminiscent of the Battle Tower Dusclops. That pretty much it sits there, it uses Confuse Ray and Double Team until it has max evasion, you're hitting yourself. Its variant runs Toxic. I prefer Will-O-Wisp from a competitive aspect because it does have that attack drop, and then Rest. And by this point, you can't do anything to them. That you're just going to Will-O-Wisp and then Rest, and now the opponent's going to get burned down over time. Like, this Pokemon is the epitome of stall. Very, very few things can 1 or even 2 hit KO this Pokemon, and if they're trying to set up, you know, you're getting set up as well with Double Team. If they hit themselves in confusion with that Will-O-Wisp burn, they're not going to last too long. Now, naturally, this can be taunted or stalled out, but if your opponent doesn't have any ways of handling it, it's just over for your opponent right there. Also, Dusclops works really well in Trick Room, that this can work out for singles or doubles, mostly doubles, because now you're setting up Trick Room for your ally. This Pokemon is not going to take, is very hard to one-hit KO on that first turn, so you're most likely getting that Trick Room set up. And now you have that speed priority, that by running a Sassy Nature, your speed is so low, you're probably going to be one of the first Pokemon to move that turn. Nightshade is going to do a set amount of damage, which is pretty nice. Then you also have Taunt and Will-O-Wisp. Burn your opponents, set up Taunt, and now in doubles, you either have to deal with this tanky threat that will never go away, or you also have to deal with the other Pokemon that's in Trick Room. A lot of people like running Mega Mawile, a lot of really slow, beefy, hard-hitting Pokemon in Trick Room, which means you have to pay attention to something, or you're just going to get completely destroyed by it. And that's just how Dusclops works. Also, a couple other moves. This isn't a moveset in itself, but you know, it does have Pain Split, which means you can anticipate if you're a 2-hit, 3-hit KO, you know, you set up your Confuse Ray, you set up your Double Team, you set up any kind of thing that you want to set up, and then on that second or third hit, you know, you're thinking you might be really low on hit points, use Pain Split, cut your opponent's attack, or cut your opponent's hit points almost in half right there, or however much the difference is, and then Pain Split is going to give you a lot of health back. This is where having a really low hit points works in your favor. That since it takes the average, you're going to be getting a lot of health back, and they're going to be losing a lot of health from it. In Trick Room, Destiny Bond is very viable, that instead of Nightshade, Taunt, or Will-O-Wisp, or whatever, that they might not expect the speedy Destiny Bond coming in their face once you've set up a bit and you're at low health, which is also really nice. Then we have Haze and Snatch. Snatch is just going to be a nice little supportive steal, and then Haze is going to make it to where if you're not stat changing or you're not doing anything like that, it can work out really well to just shut down your opponent's setup. And it's not going to be good for the double team because then it's just eliminating yours, but in doubles, if you feel that a Pokemon's going to try to be setting up, it could be a nice little trick to have. Or in singles, if you just want to have this Pokemon that's anti-setup, you know, it can set up Haze, it can throw out a Taunt, and then it can really just kind of burn and confuse threats from there. It can be a really nice Pokemon to force switches out on. Now, since we've been talking about Dusclops, what about Dusknoir? Well, Dusknoir doesn't do much, because when you have that Eviolite, it's just too tanky, and the stat boost really isn't there, that it gets slightly more defense, and slightly more hit points, and some more offense. So people will try to run it, you know, it's just going to be like bulk hit points, and then offensive stability, and just trying to get some really strong hits from there. That Trick Room works really nice, and then you can have coverage. That you can get all the elemental punches, so you have like Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, get access to Earthquake, and Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch is really nice because the move does not check accuracy, so it technically works well against the Dusclops set to a degree. And then also you just have some other moves and stuff like that. So you're going to be more of a physical fighter instead of a status disruptor. And you can get some really nice work out of it. That Pain Split Trick Room, and then 2 coverage moves does work out pretty well for Dusknoir, and it does give you a little bit of sustain and a little bit of coverage and damage overall, so it's not bad. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and that's how you use Dusknoir and Dusclops, mostly Dusclops.